This is a 75 kilowatt 100 HP motor. Most engineers see it in the factory or maybe in the picture, but very few people get a chance to see it from the inside. So in this video, in New India Electricals workshop, we are going to dismantle it fully and I'll show you all the component it has. Hello everyone and welcome to the next part of induction motor series. Now in the previous parts, we understood why induction motors are so famous, how they work and what are the different construction parts that we have. In today's episode, we are going to go one step ahead and dismantle this actual fresh motors to show you all the component it has. But before we start with the dismantling, let us first understand its nameplate details. So this is the nameplate, this is the machine number. You can see it's 75 kilowatt 100 HP motor and it's 3-phase of 415 volts. Ambient temperature, it can suit up to 50 degrees Celsius. These are the bearing details for driving end and non-driving ends, and there is a grease details, and we also have the IEC that it complies with along with the efficiency class. And importantly, you can see the rotation per minute. This is the speed of the motor. This is 987 rpm rotation per minute. Now there are a lot of details on this nameplate, but we are not going to go in details of everything. We'll have a dedicated video talking about these nameplates. Now we understood the nameplate details, basic nameplate details. Let's see what are the things that we see outside of this motor. So first you see the body. This is what we call as the stator. Now stator is made up of multiple things, which we will see when the motor is disassembled. And you see on the motor, these are the fins. Now these are not the design part. These are not the aesthetic parts. It has a purpose. What is that? I'll explain you in this video. So make sure you stick on that. Then you can see here is the hook that can be used to pull this motor up, and you can also see the shaft that is coming out of this thing.
And then on the other side, we can see the terminal box. This is where we will be connecting the incoming supply. Now we'll also talk about this in few minutes.
So if you look at on the broader level, the motor constructions are very simple. We have the outer part, which is stationary. We call it as stator. And then inside of the stator, we have the rotating part, which is what we call as the rotor. Now we'll start disassembling it and I'll show you each and every component it has.
Before we begin, a big thank you to New India Electricals for allowing us to shoot inside their workshop and arrange this motor teardown for educational purposes. Their support made this practical video possible.
Now, after about 20 minutes, we disassembled this motor fully, and this was done under expert technicians, and so everything was all right. So what we will do first, we'll start with the stationary part, which is the stator, and then we will go to the different parts of the motor. So first is stator. Now stator, we call it stator because this is a stationary part, and it has three major components. The stator frame, which is the outside part that you see, then the stator core, which will be the inside of that, and then the stator winding. Let's first start with the stator core or stator frame. Sorry, not core, the frame. So the stator frame is made up of cast iron, and this is very important part of the motor because it holds everything that is inside. The core, the winding is protected by this cast iron, frame of the motor, and it also supports the end rings of the motor, which then holds the rotor. So this is a really important part. It also protects everything inside from the environmental conditions. So this is really important. Additionally, when the motor rotates, it generates heat because of the losses, and all those losses then transfer to the frame. This frame then takes care to dissipate it, and that is the reason why you will find this kind of fins on the motor design. This is not the aesthetic part, this is not the design part, but it is there for the heat dissipation purpose, because this then gives a larger surface for the heat dissipation, and then the heat dissipated to the environment, which helps motor cool down quickly. And also to support the cooling, we also have the fan, which I'll show you in a minute. So that's the outer frame. Now let's move to the stator core. So now let's talk about the stator core. So the inner part that you see is the stator core. It's made up of thin lamination and not a solid steel block. And there is a reason for that. If you use a solid steel block, we have a problem called eddy currents because we're using alternating current. And if they are present there, the heat generated will be more and the power losses will also be more. So to eliminate that, I will say not fully eliminate, but to at least reduce that, what we do is we use thin laminations and then we group it together. So in that way, we reduce the eddy current losses that is happening, and that is why that is how these cores are made. This is similar to that of the transformer cores that we have seen. And on the stator core, you will find different slots. Now, in that slots, we can put the windings. Now, winding is basically the copper conductor or aluminum conductor bunched together, and all these windings are placed inside the stator slots, which you can see right here. Now, the windings are placed in such a way that it creates a 120-degree angle, electrical angle, right? Not mechanical, electrically 120-degree apart placed. And when the supply is given to this windings, it generates the rotating magnetic field, which is what we need in order to operate the motor. Without that, the motor will not operate. Now, there is one important thing when we talk about the winding and the core, and it's insulation, because it generates heats, right? And if the insulation is not proper or the winding is touching the core, there is a possibility of short circuit or even the earth fault. And if that is done or that happens, the whole winding will be burned and then the complete motor needs to be rewinded. So to avoid that, what we do is we insulate the winding from the core so that it doesn't touch it accidentally. And also we make sure there is insulation between the windings so that we avoid all kinds of fault. If the fault happens, then the whole motor needs rewinding. And if you look at the failure reasons of induction motor, you will find the winding failure is one of the prominent reason why induction motor fails. So winding is very critical part and it must be taken care. On top, you will also find this doesn't look like a copper because you will see the varnish is applied over there.
Varnishing helps bind the winding together, improves mechanical strength, improves heat transfer and protect against the moisture and dust. During motor operation, the winding experiences electromagnetic forces and vibration. If the winding is loose, it can vibrate, rub and eventually fail. Proper varnishing and winding support reduce this risk.
So now we have clear idea about the stator and the different component it has, which takes us to the very important part, the part that rotates the rotor. Now, rotor is the rotating part of the motor and it is fitted inside the stator with a small air gap. Now, the rotor that you see right here is the squirrel cage rotor, and it's very famously used all across the industry. The reason is it has no major parts like the commutator or the brushes, and that makes it very robust and almost maintenance free. Now, what happens is we have already talked about the working principle of the induction motor. Now, when the rotor is placed inside the rotating magnetic field, it experiences a force, and as a result, it starts rotating, right? And you see the shaft, on this shaft this iron core is placed. Now, just like the stator core, this is also laminated and this is also made up of thin laminations to avoid the eddy current loss. The current inside this gets induced because of the electromagnetic inductions, Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, and we already talked about that. So there is no physical connection by which the current transfer, it everything happens via the induction. Now there are different types of rotor like slip ring rotor, which we will not be talking in this particular video. Maybe we'll do a dedicated video on that. Now, the another question is, why do we call this rotor as the squirrel cage rotor? Now, if you look at this rotor, we have the bars that are placed on both the sides, and all these bars are shorted with the help of end rings. Now, what happens is if you remove the iron core, it looks like a cage for the squirrel. And that's where the name coming from, the squirrel cage induction motor. Now, this simple construction is one of the biggest advantage of this kind of motor because you don't have brushes, you don't have commutator, you don't have to worry about the replacements. And that's why they are widely used for conveyors or including the harsh environmental conditions. Now, I talked about air gap initially. When we put this rotor inside the stator, we maintain a very small air gap. Now, it's very important that gap is not big because the reluctance to the flux, or in simple terms, the resistance to the flux offered by the air is more. So if you keep the air gap more, the flux won't be transferred in an efficient way. So it must be very minimal, and it should not be very close that the rotor will not move freely. So maintaining that air gap is very very important, and including for this motor it's in and there are cases where if the air gaps are not proper, the motor will start vibrating. So that's why air gap is really important. Now let's discuss about the shaft. Shaft is where the mechanical power is getting transferred to the load. And the shaft must be strong enough to hold the rotor, as well as it should be able to handle the high torque that is generated by the motor. Now, when you look at the different shaft positioning, we have different types for that. Like in engineering terms, we call it as the driving end. So you will find the output from where the load is connected, that is called as the driving end. The motor can have driving end from the one end or maybe from the both the ends. The motor that we open today has the driving end from one side, the another side it is closed. So shaft is again very very important component in the motor. It holds the complete rotor, which takes us to another important part. It's fully mechanical, and that's the bearing. A bearing is very critical for motors. This allows rotor to rotate freely. If there are some issues with the bearing, the rotor may have problem. And that's why you will see bearings provided on both the ends. Bearing also helps in maintaining the proper air gap between stator and rotor. Now, if you look at the major failures that happens in the induction motor, the bearing failure is one of the prominent reason why induction motor fails. So from a maintenance point of view, the bearings are one of the major component which needs to be maintained properly. Without that, the motor may fail. Now let's talk about the terminal box. This is where the incoming supply will be connected. So you can see from other end the cables will enter, and then it will be connected to this terminal. So R, Y and B. This is a three-phase induction motor. There is no neutral because the induction motors are the perfect balanced load. So neutral is not needed. Now the current arrangement that you see is a delta arrangement. If you want to change the direction of rotation of the motor, you can interchange any of the two incoming supply and the motor direction will be changed. Now, why is that happening? Because the rotor rotates in the same direction as the rotating magnetic field. And if we change that direction, the rotor direction will also change. That's why by simply interchanging, you can change the direction of the rotation. So that's the terminal box. Now let's talk about the balance things that we did not discuss yet. So first is the end shields. Now these are again very important because this makes sure both the ends of the stators are closed properly, and it also helps in maintaining the proper alignment between stator and rotor. If that's not proper, we are going to see some vibrations coming out of motor. So these end shields are very important. One will be from on the driving end to which we'll be connecting the load, and another one will be the non-driving end. But it's not empty sitting there, it's also doing the job, and that job is to rotate this particular fan. Now this fan is very important because it helps in circulating the air on the motor, which then helps in cooling down the motor quickly. Without this, motor can get overheated and that can damage the insulation. The insulation life can downgrade by 50%. So to avoid all those things, the fans are very very necessary. Fans also support the fins that we talked about on the motor frame to dissipate the heat quicker. And then lastly, we have the fan cover. This will also safeguard the fan from any sort of damage. So those are the balance things that we didn't talk about. Now we have covered most of the components of the induction motor, and if you reconnect all this component to the working principle, you will be able to understand it thoroughly. So what is happening is we are giving the supply to the stator. Stator has the windings which are placed 120-degree apart from each other. It's a three-phase winding. When the supply is turned on, it will generate a rotating magnetic field. Now remember the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. If we put any conductor under that rotating magnetic field, it will induce voltage inside that. And if we put the rotor inside the stator inside the rotating magnetic field, the current will induce in the rotors because we have shorted the conductors with the end rings. Now here the Lorentz force comes into picture. When we put a conductor inside the rotating magnetic field, it will experience a force. When you put the rotor inside the rotating magnetic field, it will experience a force, it will experience a torque, and it will start rotating. And that's how the induction motor operates. Now, before we close this video, I wanted to show you one special motor. So this motor that you see is a special motor because it's absolutely frame proof. That means if something goes wrong, nothing will come out. It has a special construction, extra strong construction, which prevents any kind of spark or fire that come out. This is special purpose and used for special applications like oil and gas. Now, in this video, we disassembled the 75 kilowatt 100 HP induction motor. But the motors really get interesting when we see its actual application on the site. Now, if you want me to make a dedicated video where I go on the site and show you the different application, then do comment application in the comment section below. If I get enough comment, I'll for sure request New India Electricals team to take us on the site and shoot there. Before we close, a big shout out to New India Electricals. Without their support, this video was absolutely not possible.
New India Electricals is a well-known name in the industry, supplying a wide range of industrial motors, including special purpose motors and drives across India and to more than 45 countries. Along with motors, they also manufacture medium voltage switchgear panels up to 36 kilovolt. If you would like to know more about their products or get in touch with their team, I've added their contact details in the video description.
Remember, if you want to see the motors on site, comment application. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. But till then, keep watching, keep learning.